Hey, welcome back to my channel. We just made a bunch of video today, and I forgot to say this. You have to hit the like and subscribe button to help me out. I'd appreciate it. Hasn't helped me yet, but maybe somewhere down the road it will. This video is comparing an early Colt 9mm carbine to a later Colt 9mm carbine. So I ran the serial numbers on this. This gun was made in 2012. I ran this serial number. Colt says it doesn't exist, but I know it exists because it's in front of my grubby little fingers. This one's marked Sporter. This one's marked AR-15. So I'm going to hold one up and go through some of the things that are visibly noticeable, and then hopefully in some part we'll get into side-by-sides. All right, first we're going to look at my Sporter. Now, one of the things about the Sporter is very obvious is, besides the markings, it's the old school large screw front pin, right? Like on the old SP1s. The other thing is, of course it says Sporter lightweight, is there's no bayonet lug. Colt took that off on their own. This gun originally was shipped with a fixed stock, an M16 style stock. When I got it, it had the collapsible stock on it. All right. Now, also, this isn't factory either. This quick detach single point sling thing isn't factory. Of course, this one has an ACOG on it. I'm going to flip it around. It has the Colt style gas deflector. And then we're going to go inside. And believe it or not, inside is actually a little bit more noticeable between the two generations. First of all, if you can see here, it has the funky 9mm Colt hammer, semi-automatic Colt hammer that they put in their early rifles. I don't know why. I can't justify why they did that. I think it's stupid, but you know, Colt did things I don't really understand. The other thing is, this is one of the early, let's put in the block, where they milled a piece of block steel in and then they pinned it in place rather than just leave the webbing in place, because apparently they don't want you dropping auto sears in Colts. The other thing is, this is the bolt, and we're going to get into the bolts later, but this is a non-ramped bolt. So I believe the non-ramped bolt, to get a lot less trigger slap, you have the funky 9mm hammer. Let's look at the AR-15. Bolts out of it too, because they're going to use them for comparison. First of all, let's start on this side. It says AR-15 instead of Sporter. Has the standard small pin. The hammer pin and the trigger pin that go through the receiver are the same size. I forgot to mention on the earlier gun, they made them different sizes so you couldn't drop in full auto parts. One's a 154 and one's a 170. And feel free to look that up, because I'm not going to bother to explain the difference. But this one is still marked, even though it's a later gun. It's not. You can tell it's a U.S. made gun and not a CZ Colt. This one's marked Colt Defense. All right. And then the casting right here, you still have the C in the casting. So this is a true Colt-made gun. Has the bayonet lug. They finally realized that this distance here, you can't put a bayonet on this gun anyway. But for some reason, they determined the bayonet lugs are bad. Now, when you look inside, this gun's an all-original gun. That looks to me like an M16 hammer, not that funky 9mm hammer. And it's got the markings on it to be Colt. So, M16 style hammer. This one does not have what I consider to be a heavy enough buffer. I'm going to change the buffer. I'm going to go to an H3 from Spikes or something like that. But right here, the webbing is now part of the casting. A lot of your non-Colts, this will be clear. But Colt, instead of pressing in that block, now leaves the webbing casting in it. So basically, to be truthful, if this one had a heavier buffer in them, they shoot exactly the same. I'm just a Colt snob, and I like my Colts. And when Marksman TV came up with one of these, I reached out to him and I bought it from him. But here's something that you guys need to be aware of when you're buying these guns. Ramped versus unramped bolts. All right, here's the original bolt. I want to put my finger right here. Can you get in on that, David? Mm-hmm. Here is the newer style bolt. There's a ramp cut in here. Does that show up?
I believe so.
What that is you get less with a ramp bolt. You get less trigger slap, where your finger can feel the bolt resetting the trigger, the hammer. That is a big thing. A lot of people who had the early generation guns would send their bolts out to have that ramp cut in them. Colt got with the program and started making them ramped, and then they started using standard hammers instead of the funky 9mm hammer. Basically what I'm telling you is, if you're buying a generational Colt, you want to make sure it has the right parts in it. Just like I said, this one has the wrong stock on it. I will eventually find an M16 stock to put back on there. We're going to take it out and we're going to test fire one of these, and we've already filmed that section, so I'm going to tell you right now, I used the Winchester steel cased ammo, and we had some failures, and you'll see some of them on tape. That stuff is complete garbage, but we'll show you the range time right now. Hey, we just did a quick comparison between the older Colt 9mm and the newer Colt 9mm. I've never even fired this gun. We're going to try it with C Products 20 with Winchester steel case. So I have the worst magazine for this gun, well, besides the plastic Pro Mags, and the worst ammunition. So I'm giving this gun every opportunity known to man to fail. That was just a weak round, I guess. I don't know if anybody picked that up. We're going to pause this. We just paused the camera, and I'm going to leave that in the edit. If you heard this, I had a hang fire. Wasn't the gun. I heard the click, and then it's that bullshit Winchester steel cased ammo. I did a video on this stuff before, and I thought I could just burn it up, and I have one more magazine that we're going to sight a rifle in off camera with it. Don't buy that garbage. That stuff is just complete crap. Thanks for coming to the channel. Hope you enjoyed the video.